and again, the work comp folks can enlighten me if there was a provision that was similar to this, but if the treating physician releases the claimant to light duty work and provides written restrictions, and the employer can make a good faith offer for light duty work in writing, if the claimant refuses, then they don't get TTD. Is that a major change in the statutes?
Pretty much been that way.
Okay. Is there something, are you aware of some change with regard to that in the statutes that'll take effect November 1?
Only thing I can see is now it has to be what's termed a bona fide offer in writing, whereas it used to be an employer could say, well, I contacted the injured worker, offered him this position, tried to call them, left a text. Now it has to be in writing, pretty much served by certified mail if you really want to do that.
Just formalizes the process then? Okay. The section 42, I didn't realize this was a problem, but apparently it was, or the legislature thought that it might be, that it prohibits the creation of a new business entity to avoid payment of a workers' compensation judgment. I guess there are folks that don't carry work comp insurance and get a judgment against them, and they close up shop, file with the Secretary of State and call it something else and try to avoid paying the judgment. So this doesn't let them do it. That would be interesting litigation, I guess, to figure out who was, if they actually did that for that purpose. I'll ask you this: does anybody have any items that you've heard about that are going to change on November 1 that I haven't covered or generally covered? Anything you know about that you were concerned about just made you get up this morning at 6 o'clock to be here to hear what Kurt or I had to say about it? Nothing? Does anybody have any questions? That must mean that you didn't hear anything I said, or I did a fantastic job. That's the only two possibilities. Well, I'm going to let Kurt Allen come up and do the criminal law portion. Or I'm going to ask Kurt to come up and do it. You good, bud?
Good morning. My name's Kurt Allen. I'm a public defender here at the Tulsa County Public Defender's Office. Right now I'm doing appellate. I'm in the appellate division right now. You need to get some exercise since early in the morning, so right now I want you to write this down. Curtis, C-U-R-T-I-S, .Allen @OSCN. That's my email address. If you've got questions, send them to me. One of the nice things about being in the public defender's office is I don't have to charge people money to help them. I don't have to bill my time. Nice thing about doing appellate work is that I don't have a trial docket that I'm in court in all the time. CURTIS .ALLEN @OSCN.net. I like answering questions. If you've got questions, ask them. If I'm snowed under, I'll tell you to call me back in a couple days. But seriously, the reason I'm making the big bucks in the public defender's office is because I like helping people. If I can help you help your client, get in touch with me and I will. I'm going to go over, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. Some of the changes in criminal law. If you guys have questions while I'm going through this, just call them out. Broke it down into sections talking about pleas, drugs, driving, juveniles, sex offenders, victims, protective orders, and domestic assault and battery, and then a grab bag of miscellaneous stuff. If you're doing pleas, there's some things that are changing that you probably want to know about. One of the biggest ones, actually one of the few things that made me happy this legislative session, is that for years, if you got picked up on a drug charge, you lost your driver's license. If you were walking down the street and you got stopped and you had a warrant and the cop searched you and you had a joint in your pocket and you picked up a drug charge because of that, you automatically lost your driver's license. And some of you may not have known that. I didn't know that for a couple years because it happened sort of automatically behind the scenes after you plead somebody. It's actually really pernicious because in the Department of Public Safety process of getting your driver's license back, it's actually more difficult to get your license back for this drug charge than if you had 2 DUIs on your record. So finally, the legislature got smart and they said, okay, let's do it the way we should have done the first time. If you get a drug conviction while you're in the vehicle, then we're going to take your license. So things are going to get a lot better for the sort of day-to-day minor drug offenses. They're not going to lose their license so they can actually work and do stuff. Yes, sir?
Does the term using a motor vehicle include being a passenger?
The statute didn't go into much detail, but I think, well, of course, I'm a defense counsel. I think using would include actually being the driver. I think you could sort of look at sort of their nexus, their connection to the use of the vehicle. If the vehicle's being used to deal drugs and you're in the passenger seat, that would probably include you. But if you're just getting pulled over for your broken taillight or your fail to signal your right-hand turn, that's probably not going to include you if you're the passenger. But that hasn't been litigated yet.
Sir, you have that while using a motor vehicle in italics, so is that according to statutory language?
Yes, while using. And and that's the change. Applies, it just applied, you just lost your license if you had a drug conviction. Another change, deferred sentences can last 10 years now. It used to be 5 years. It doesn't do a whole lot penologically because if people are going to reoffend, they're generally going to do it in the first 2 years. That's why DOC only supervises for 2 years. This just gives people more time to maybe mess up and lose a deferred sentence. As part of the legislature's march to make sure that deferred sentences don't mean what they used to anymore, even if you have a deferred sentence, you can't, even if you have a deferred sentence and you've gotten your sentence expunged, you can't work in a nursing home anymore. Delayed sentencing for young adults. They've added child pornography to the list of offenses that'll keep you out, but the big change there is you can't do that a second time. Delayed sentencing is also known as the RID program or the boot camp program. So another option that we had has been cut out. One that might be helpful, they've extended the time that you can still have a juvenile misdemeanor case. It's gone from age of 18 to 18 and 6 months. So if you've got a young kid who's got a misdemeanor, then if they're not 18 and a half yet, you may be able to push the case back down to juvenile. Most offenses, when you're talking about having a prior conviction, for a domestic assault and battery, your first one's a misdemeanor. If you get a second domestic assault and battery, it'll be a felony. It used to be that if you ever had in your past a domestic assault and battery, your next one would be a felony. Now this puts a 10-year limit. If you don't pick up any new felonies or misdemeanors involving moral turpitude in 10 years, then that previous domestic assault and battery will go off your record.